penis part?
I didn't know.
You say penis. I say park. What does he say?
Penis park.
I love that. That kid's good.
It's actually, I've never heard the word penis yelled so many times in a movie.
I think no Spider-Verse. God, that
Spider-Verse is
that
on a
fucking
whole
movie
new
is
level, dude.
perfect,
That's
dude.
such a good fucking movie.
Can't wait.
I should
for
probably
that.
watch that at some point. Huh?
You've never seen it?
That's an animated one. They mix
Oh
the
my
different
God,
types of...
dude.
I'll be honest, Vic, if you liked
So fucking good.
Guardians more after like talking about it and like watching it a second time like that, it's such a good fucking movie.
Spider-Verse, I think, is like universally
You
like.
literally just talked me out of watching it. Your intro was, oh, if you like
Trump
Guardians.
endorses it. I don't know.
All right, I'll watch it.
He's like, if you like Guardians 2, you're like, that's my second lowest movie.
How old are you? 45?
Watch your fucking mouth.
44.
Hey,
What is that
is
for?
that a 5-head or a 6-head? How do you not throw shade right back at me?
I'm not going anywhere with you.
Yeah. I mean, what?
I'm done with this.
Mine's not any better.
Penis Parker.
Your calendar just works better than mine, prick.
All right, guys, welcome back. Reviewers assemble. This week we are doing Spider-Man: Homecoming, which is like the Spider-Man origin reboot. I mean, great song. They've rebooted Spider-Man like how many times now?
Just half dozen.
3.
We had the Tobey Spider-Mans. We had the Andrew Garfield Spider-Mans, which I do not like.
Nope.
I wish I liked them, but I do not like them. And then we had this one, right? Just the 3?
Yep.
Yeah. And then Spider-Verse, obviously, which we're talking about, which some of us have not seen. One of the best movies ever made, anyway.
Wow.
That's great, dude.
That's like a 9/7.
Is that above Toy Story 3 or?
Toy Story 3 is hard to beat.
Toy Story 3 is great, dude.
Lotso is an all-time villain.
Lotso.
little sub podcast here. Toy Story rankings right now. Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3. Toy Story 1.
Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 4. And I like Toy
There's
Story
there
4,
was
but I was
one
like...
definitive ranking.
Yep.
We will not
That's,
allow people to change it.
so if you came here
Vic's
looking
gonna
for...
argue that with you.
Wow.
If you came here... What are your rankings then?
Did you actually watch
list.
4 yet?
I have 2 children. What do you think I do all day?
I was checking.
All day.
A couple weeks ago, you didn't watch 4.
That's
You
not
seen
true.
it, right?
No, I've seen all 4 of them. I think
I
I
thought
watched.
you said you
I
had.
think I watched all 4 of them on Sunday
Toy
alone.
Story review.
I thought you said you hadn't seen 4 yet.
So I probably go OG, then Lotso. So 1, then 3,
And 2.
then 4, then 2.
What?
You know the whole Jesse. That one, like, it's a little
Jesse's
dark
kind of
and cynical.
whiny.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
agree.
in that one, I love
She was
Jesse in
like
the
2
future.
lines.
I'm gonna agree with Vic. 4 and 2 can be interchangeable.
Yeah.
They're all really tight.
Dude, I'm
really
sorry,
good.
but
They're all
2 are
great.
good.
But
that consignment
she was
store is
better.
creepy as hell.
Oh my god!
What do you-
With what's her name in the
That doll. That's the creepiest. That's the
Oh my
creepiest
gosh.
toy in the whole thing.
Oh.
yeah
That's creepier than anything
But-
Sid creates.
Wait. Which one?
The 4th one.
in 4.
No, nothing is creepier than Big Baby, dude.
Big Baby is creepy.
Nothing is- no.
But
I was like,
tell
oh
me,
shit.
hey, Big Baby is the child of
But doesn't
the
Big Baby turn
all of
good?
There's a scene in-
from the consignment store. Yeah.
There's a scene where Big Baby's on a fucking swing set and he turns his head around and I was
Yeah.
like, what is this, a horror movie, dude?
That's fair.
Big Baby turns good though, doesn't he?
He does. He
That's a redeeming quality.
also, there's like a lot of Star Wars similarities, which I never picked up until watching them. But like they do like a Return of the Jedi, where Big Baby picks up Lotso and he's like, "Roar!" He throws him into the Emperor.
Yep. It went into the dumpster.
He pulls an Emperor on him, and he's like,
I do love Lotso, like with the little cane and everything. It's,
Oh, it's
kind of
just-
funny.
"Lotso's a
All-time
fucking
villain.
fraud."
And then
dude.
like Ken in the fashion show, like that is a good one.
See, that's so
He
good.
is so
But you gotta do, I don't know, the OG for me is just
It's so good. It's weird too, because like when you grow up with
Pizza
it,
Planet.
like yeah, I'm a lost toy, and he's like, yeah. Anyway, this is not a Toy Story.
Yeah.
This has turned into a full
But
Toy
we
Story.
can absolutely, absolutely keeping all this in.
We're going full Toy Story.
Not
Have you
editing,
guys seen Frozen 2?
not
Yes.
editing any of that out for sure. So yeah, we're doing Spider-Man: Homecoming today. We're gonna skip the intro again. You guys know what Spider-Man is. It's like another soft reboot. So we're Peter Parker. Although we don't see him get bit in this one.
No, yeah, they jump right
Just
into
They
kinda
it.
has
skip
the
right into
powers,
it, which
huh?
personally, one of my favorite things they do in this movie because they've done it twice already.
They even
Yeah,
do in
and-
Spider-Verse. We don't need to see that.
In their defense, like
They jump
he's
right
already introduced in Civil War.
Right,
And they jump
Exactly.
right
They-
in from
they go,
Civil
it's a
War.
totally different
Yeah.
angle. I love it.
Yeah, the opening scene is great. Where if we're just jumping right into favorite scenes, like I love they have like the vertical, never shoot video like that ever. But like it's like a comedic purpose where like they intentionally shoot like
It's him
on his cell
recording like
phone.
what's going on.
He's
yeah.
like, why are you recording that? He's like, no reason. But then it's like, yeah, picks up where Civil War, and it's like a different angle behind like the boxes. Like he sets his camera up.
His first time flying.
Yeah,
and
he's
stuff.
like, this is my cue, and then you hear like underoos, and then he like goes in. It's so cool.
Underoos.
Yeah, that's really cool. You're like just in Tom Holland's super charming. Like, I think we were talking off camera. Like, I'm a little low in this movie. I think maybe by the time we're done talking about this, depending on how this goes, like I think I'll probably put it up a couple notches. But what do you guys have for some of the favorite scenes or best scenes that stick out? Does anything stick out?
Let me pull out my notes.
All right, well, I'll start off. My favorite scene is definitely where he's underneath the building that gets collapsed on top of him. We've talked a lot throughout these podcasts about like our favorite parts or some of the emotional moments and everything like that. And because this is an origin story for him and stuff like that, an opening, you don't get a lot of those in some of these other movies. You know, you get like a little scene or something, but like Tom Holland does such a good job of like being defeated in that moment, and it's a really dire situation. There's no one around him. No one is coming to save him. Like he doesn't have, he's got superpowers, but he's not Superman or something like that. Like he has to dig really deep and
Figure out the kinks.
Literally he's just got this, and this is the first time he's really, like he shows the whole time in the entire movie how small time he is. He's just been fighting some robbers and stuff like that, making mistakes and stuff like that. But, what was it, web shooting that guy to his own car because he thought he was breaking in and stuff like that.
And that's where Stanley is like getting out the window. He's like, how's your mother?
Right, exactly. It's just like
my car.
This scene of just like he does such a good job of just being like, I'm about to die. I'm a 16-year-old kid who's about to die underneath a building, and no one will ever find me. And just that realization, stuff like that. And he just does such a good job of acting through that and everything. It's, in my opinion, one of the strongest scenes in the MCU. Personally, I think it's just he does such a good job acting with that.
So for me, I love the ferry scene.
Oh yeah, when he's
and he tries to tie the whole thing together.
Tony saves his ass. You mean?
Yep.
Yeah, Tony does save his ass, but like he shows his resilience and like he's a superhero. He wants to save lives. He wants to do the right thing. Then like the FBI shows up, which was like a nice little twist. I want to throw a little shade at Tony because, and we talked about Tony's growth throughout this whole thing and his emotions and like how he wants to be a superhero now, but Tony like not communicating with the kid is kind of weird. Like if Tony was like, I'm on it, like I'll take care of it, leave it alone. He just kept saying like, leave it alone, like stay out of it. Like
they don't trust him.
But like just communicate, because then the FBI shows up and Tony's like, I called the FBI, I sent them there, which pisses me off because it's all part of that accord. Like Tony not acting on it and having the FBI do it.
They do mention the Sokovia Accords in class.
They do, yeah. So they mention the Sokovia Accords a couple times. I mean, there's some really good references to the whole universe, which is great. But for me, I love that scene. I think it really showed that he's like coming into the zone of all of his powers and like with the new suits and stuff. And he's talking to, what did he name her? Like Kathy or Karen?
Well, Peter has Karen in the suit.
Yeah.
And then he's got like Friday, but I don't know if that's...
But he named her Karen. Yeah. Like, he's coming to the zone, like, using the technology along with his powers, and it was all working for him there, and it looked good. And then I do like the scene with Tony afterwards, where Tony kind of scolds him, is like, you're acting like an idiot, give me the suit. So it was a good scene for me.
Definitely. And I like, that's probably my number 2 scene for sure. Yeah. The only thing that beats out that first scene is because all of his stuff all that Tony Stark stuff has been taken away from him. And he's it literally defines what Tony says to him in that scene of like, if you're not someone with the suit, then you don't deserve to have it.
Yeah, really good line.
And, and that moment with the building is just,
really good
line.
Literally,
you don't have the suit. This is all you. You gotta figure it out, so.
Yeah. Gary, what about you? What do you have for scenes?
Mine not as serious of a moment, but the Washington Monument scene where
that was like my number 2. That was really good.
Scales it, and he's like scared, and then he realizes like, I gotta break the window, and he has to do the cool flip over the helicopter, grab the helicopter.
To get the momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Get enough momentum going through the window, crash the window, save all the people in the elevator, save the crush, then have the suit tell you like, oh, this is your chance, like kiss the girl, and then you awkwardly fall down the elevator shaft. Like it's just a classic Spider-Man moment.
Yep.
Like that's just true to the Tobey Maguire movies, to everything, to the animated series. That's just Spider-Man.
Literally swings in to save the day.
Swings in, saves the day, thinks he's being all cool, and then ends up looking awkward. And that's just classic Spider-Man.
Yep.
He's like,
I enjoyed it.
I love when he's like in the elevator and he's trying to save them, and Ned like moves around and he's like, "Sir, stop moving." Or he's like, yeah, that's a good part. I like when he's scaling the building and like Karen says like, "You also have not redeployed your parachute, so a fall from here would be most likely lethal." Because he's like afraid of heights and stuff. A couple of best scenes for me. I love the Michael Keaton scene where he finds out, or Vulture, in the car where he like. First of all, his daughter like gives him away, where gives Peter away, where she's like, "Oh, you disappeared just like you did in DC," and I was like, "Oh, come on, man! Like, come on, Liz."
Low-key, don't you love the fact that he actually I love that it was a movie where they finally call him out on it. Like you see all those
where
other
Michael
movies
Keaton
where
figures it out. I mean,
yeah,
that was cool.
And like how every other time like they don't figure it out, even though it's really
the bad guy's wrong. He's like,
Speaking of Michael Keaton, any Batman movie, like, I've never seen Bruce Wayne and Batman in the same thing, even though this is literally where they both should be. But like in this one, he's just like, 2 seconds of this conversation, you're Spider-Man, aren't you? Like,
it's really cool.
Nose,
I love the reveal in the door where Peter shows up. He's like feeling it. He's in a good mood. He's like gonna go out with Liz, and then like he opens the door and it's Michael Keaton, and he just loses. Mm-hmm. Like he's like fuck, because he's already seen him as Vulture.
Yep.
So he knows he's
complete
like
ghost face. Like
because Vulture doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man right at this point, but Peter knows that Vulture is Michael Keaton's character. And so, like, the whole car scene was, like, dark, where he, like, he's like, "Oh, go on in," and, like, I'm just gonna give him the dad talk. And then he, like, he literally pulls, like, a gun out from, like, his dashboard or whatever, and or his glove box. And he's like, "I will kill you and your entire family if you don't, like, stop." And I was like, damn, dude, that got dark for a Spider-Man movie.
Right.
One little thing I liked about this was, like, the previous love story, because we all know that MJ is the love story in every Spider-Man, and I like that he had like this crush on Liz. They did a great job by eliminating her in this movie, leading into the next one, going into MJ and his next crush.
Yeah, they put a twist on it.
Yeah, because Liz, his first crush, Liz's dad, was the bad guy, and then it seems like Liz changes schools. Like she had all of her stuff.
They like write her out basically.
Yeah, but it was like a really good twist to the different Spider-Man, like whatever you call it. So I thought that was really cool. I want to give some credit to the directors on that one, or the writers.
Yeah,
sure.
I love when he's going through the park too. He's chasing the van, I think, and like he goes through like the middle of like Central Park, whatever, and he goes to shoot his webs, and he's like, this sucks, and he just starts running.
Dude, anyone that's played a Spider-Man game knows that fucking feeling.
Yeah, because there's nothing like
don't have a wing.
Spider-Man PS4, if you go to the park, it's hard to like keep
right?
swinging. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. He's like running through, and there's like the Domino's commercial. I think it's like from Ferris Bueller. They play like the song.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and he's like, great movie, and he like
just runs through. Yep.
Smells really good. The barbecue going.
There's a lot of like really good scenes. Like I said, I was a little low in this movie, but like looking back, like just kind of talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, well there's also this scene, this scene, this scene.
So, no, there's definitely a lot of good parts for sure. It's
like,
just
he shows up in the ceiling and Ned's like, "You're the Spider-Man," and he's like, "You can't tell anybody." And like Aunt May comes in, as Tony stated in Civil War, the unusually attractive Aunt May.
Yeah.
And she's just like always fun, and I don't know. There's plenty of things to pick up on. You guys have any worse scenes off the top of your head?
This one was tough. I really couldn't find any moments in this movie where I was like, "This is just bad."
We didn't even talk about the scene where he's got the yellow like jacket on and he's like trying all the things. Where Karen says like instant kill mode. And he's like, "No, deactivate instant kill mode." He's like, "I don't want that."
That's a good one. Yeah.
So, kind of right off of that, I hate that gas station scene when he's spying on the guys in the van.
That's
and then
with Donald Glover. Or
is
that
okay?
Yeah, and he's like trying the different like sprays or whatever with the webbing and all that stuff, and like he electrocutes the ceiling right in their sight, and they like don't look over.
The lights like flickering, and he runs.
And then like 2 minutes later, he gets locked in this truck that's carrying like highly classified cargo. They lock him in this big building, and there's no alarms that trip while he's playing with everything. And
that was weird.
Like that whole like 5-minute segment, I thought that was awful. Personally.
Yeah, I can second that notion. Like the whole time he was trapped in like that warehouse thing was just
no cameras, no nothing. Like no one wants.
Didn't make a lot of sense. Kind of felt forced and just kind of boring.
That was strange. It's like a fun scene where him like trying all the gadgets, but also like it was like realistically or logistically speaking, like you say, Vic. Like, it doesn't really make. It
was a little funny though when he like tries all those things and like they almost like time lapse it
How
a
long
little
has
bit.
it been?
It like 37 minutes. He's like, what?
Yeah, it's like, I gotta get out of here. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good scene. For me, like worst scenes, I think of like the at the end when Tony's plane is leaving, and we talked about this when we were watching it. Like Tony's not alerted somehow to his plane, which has like Happy says like Cap's. They say like Cap's new shield, and then in my head I'm like, does Cap get a new shield? Like I don't really remember if he does in like Infinity War or whatever, but they're saying like Cap's new shield, and we have like Happy lists off like big things. He's like basically like this plane is full of very important big. I mean they're moving from Avengers Tower. So like obviously all the big stuff is gonna be in there, and like Vulture like easily gets into it, and like the plane goes down. I just thought the security should have been higher, or like we said, Tony should have been on the plane, or like Tony should have been like come in as Iron Man to help, because you think Iron Man probably would have taken out Vulture in like 2 seconds, probably.
Right. Exactly.
Garrett, I think you said when we were watching it, like maybe you just wanted Peter to he wanted to give Peter a chance to do it on his own. But like I don't know, it's Tony's stuff, so like it's really valuable stuff. Does he really want to mess with that? I don't know, but that to me was like one of the scenes that stuck out to me where I was like, this seems kind of like unrealistic.
I agree. Yeah. It's a good one. Now, actually, any really bad ones?
It's tough.
No, Garrett?
No.
Oh well, I already doubled down on Vic's with the warehouse scene. Just honestly, just because when I was watching it, I was like, "Oh, this is a lot more boring than I thought it was." The first time
it's a lull in the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
just kind of like you hit some momentum, and then it came to a screeching halt for a little while.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way as Doctor Strange when we were talking about it. I don't really have a least favorite scene in this movie. I really like the movie and everything overall in it. I like the warehouse scene. I understand logistically it doesn't make sense. You guys are totally right, and it weirded me out too when I first saw it. But I did like it in the scope of the movie, just because it did go from this heavy action thing to him like having to settle down, try out this stuff in a more controlled environment, instead of a lot of other movies would have him try it out in the middle of a battle. And like in reality, I would complain in the middle of the battle, like, well, you should get your ass handed to you now because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you get to try it out and stuff like that.
If you don't overthink it, it's a decent comical scene.
Yeah, but logistically, you're right. It makes no sense. Why are there no cameras? And also, why is no one opening the truck?
Yeah,
exactly. To check to make sure all the cargo made it,
or make sure that there's no one in there that's about to hijack everything in that warehouse.
Yeah, like anything.
It makes no sense.
So. In that, I mean, I guess that's why we're here, right? This is why we do this. We're supposed to pick things apart and review them and give our honest opinion. So, is the scene good? Yes. Logistically, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So I guess we're all on accord then. Like this is probably the one scene that's like,
It's not that bad. We just have to pick something.
Yeah. Exactly.
How do we pick a strongest Avenger in this one? Like, it's like really.
It's a small cast of characters, so we have Peter, we have Ned, we have Liz, we have MJ kind of. She's not in much of it though. No. We have the guy from Silicon Valley.
I know. I can
Guilfoyle.
He has a more prominent part in the second one.
There's a lot of comedy. I will say there's a lot of comedy in this movie. I really like Flash.
I did like this version of Flash.
I don't know. Yeah, this is a very different. Usually we get the big hulky bully Flash, like a meathead. Yeah. And this one, he's like
it made a lot of sense.
Everyone's kind of nerdy in this movie a little bit.
Now, what did you think of MJ in this one? Like personally,
we'll get to that. Maybe when we get to Baby Arms, we might get to that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we're gonna hold off then on what I was saying.
But I'll just kick it off with strongest Avenger for me. I think it's got to be Michael Keaton as Vulture, because he's just so good. He's so good in this movie. Where like similar to last week when we talked about Guardians, where like everything Yondu said, I was just in, and I was like, he has my attention. Michael Keaton is such a good actor that I love Tom Holland. Like he's super charming, he's fun, and Spidey's fun. But like, man, every scene Michael Keaton. I mean, the movie starts off with him where he's like, you got to use the alien tools or whatever, and he like. It's just cool how 8 years pass in the beginning, and they're like selling illegal weapons basically on the black market, but like they have to. He always says to his guys, he kills one of the guys.
Yeah,
the guy who's originally Shocker, he like kills him because he's like, oh, I'm just gonna leave then, and he's like, oh, is this the gun, the anti-gravity gun? And he shoots him, and he's like, I thought that was the anti-gravity gun. He's like, no, that's that one. But like. It's cool because he says like if the Avengers or the FBI or whatever, they come down on us, like we're done. So I like that aspect of it. That he's like selling weapons, and I love Donald Glover. I love Donald Glover's cameo too. Like God, it just makes me want to watch Atlanta because Atlanta's so good. But I think Michael Keaton is like almost acting circles really around everybody else in this movie.
I'll go right off you. So I love Michael Keaton's character specifically for the fact that like he's obviously a very smart construction guy. Like he owns his own construction company at the beginning, but he's also a tough guy. Like right from the beginning, he punches that FBI guy right in the mouth.
He doesn't take shit from anyone.
And he's already smart. He's already like siphoning some of like the material. So he was hired to clear the debris from the first Avengers, and he's already like pulling some of the material out to like play with it. Yeah, like but he's just doing the probably $1 million contracting job to start clearing out one building, and he's already smart. He's already tough, and then like as it goes on, he's just smarter and tougher and more of a badass. Like. There were some parts I really hated. Like, obviously, he made some mistakes and got himself in trouble. But, I mean, I felt like they warmed up his character so well, and it just accelerated right through the movie.
They do say, though, because his guys, when Peter is, like, at the party and he's, like, contemplating, like, if he should go into Spider-Man, because they're like, oh, have your friend Spider-Man show up. And he's like, oh, I'm just going to swing in. But then he sees in the distance that blue, like, gun that's fired. And then that's when he goes over there. And then Michael Keaton reprimands his guys where he's like, told you not to like fire those in the open because like if we get caught like we're fucked. Like so yeah. So Michael Keaton is yours.
Yep.
Yeah. What about you guys? You got someone other than Michael Keaton?
No, I got Michael Keaton.
Oh, three Michael Keatons.
Michael Keaton's intelligent and he's intense in this movie, and I mean, like Vic said, he makes a couple mistakes, but for the most part, you feel for him in multiple different ways, as a father, as a villain, as a businessman. Like there's multiple different angles to his character in this, and you never truly hate him because you understand what he's doing, but at the same time you don't agree with him.
He plays a good villain.
I mean, the former Batman does a really great job here as the villain.
He's got a badass suit.
I do, yep, and then he covers for Spidey at the very end, which is kind of cool. So we'll see if he makes another appearance, but I really liked him in this.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, so I like Michael Keaton as well, but I'm going to actually give mine to someone that just makes more of a cameo in this. I like Tony Stark in this movie, I'll be honest.
Yeah?
Yeah. And
he plays a big part.
He does, and I think exactly, and you see, because obviously you start off witnessing Spider-Man in Civil War, and like his attachment to Tony Stark right off the bat. And then, as we've seen later on in the movies, his attachment to Tony Stark. And you really see how much it is based off of everything that he says in this movie. And like it's cool because if you look at the context of where and when this is going on, it's like this is Civil War that this is going on in and everything. Like Tony's got this whole backlash from the whole thing that happened with Cap and everything. So it's like I think that's probably the reason he's not paying any attention to Peter, because he told him
things are
sit still, stop talking, don't do anything, I got it, and like isn't really paying him any mind, because it's like Tony doesn't want kids. Tony doesn't have kids. That's not what he's about right now. He's focused on this, and it's like, so that's why he doesn't show up to help Peter the first time he makes a mistake. And then later on, he's like, okay, I'm gonna show up, and that's one of my favorite scenes as well. Actually, is when he comes out of the suit when Peter like tries to call him out.
He's like, you're not really here.
You're not even here if you cared. And he steps out. He's like, oh yeah, and like it's great because it's not a lot. It's just strong, and it's really clearly like, no, he actually does care about you and everything like that, and he just like, I don't know, it's just one of the more powerful scenes in the movie, I guess, and just he really just drives it home and everything. So kind of the same reason you guys like Michael Keaton in this movie as well. So
one of the scenes we didn't touch on for best scenes too is the opening scene where he's like in the hotel room and Happy's like he's got like the crappy suit or the homemade suit.
What are you wearing?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, did you get the suit or whatever, or the case? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, is that case for me? And like it's a cool, because he's like recording the whole thing, and then he goes over and he opens the suit and he's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then like he's trying it on, but then like Happy's in the room next door. And he like knocks on the door and he like backflips, I think, to the front door. Yep. And he's like, I wasn't doing anything. And Happy's like, we got thin walls here. Yeah. So strongest Avenger. I'm glad Nigel got some variety in there. But,
Baby Arms.
We got the Keaton here. Anybody want to start off with Baby Arms? Anyone that stood out, or you guys like the list?
I can go. Mine's broad. I mean, I'm kind of giving the director some slack on this. I wish they developed some more supporting cast a little bit. Like Liz's character was a little weak. MJ, I give it praise for how they're gonna bring MJ into the next one. But like MJ's character was a little weak. Even Ned, like I kind of like Ned. He's also kind of annoying at the same time.
Kind of chair.
Yeah, I don't want to shit on Ned by any means, but I just feel like there needs to be a little more character development in this, just to like give you something more to be attached to, in a sense. No one was really bad. I liked that. I think we just talked about it a second ago. Like, it was a little nerdier, and I kind of liked it. Like,
yeah, everyone was pretty nerdy.
Yeah, it was a different little twist on it, but I don't know. They didn't go in depth enough with other characters. It was a little too hollow for me.
Yeah,
Did they go to like a math decathlon or like a?
Yeah, which I love that little touch on it, but like I hate that they go to this trip and he immediately gets pulled away, and I know that was for them to touch on the fact like you're still a kid. We still want you to be in school. Be a superhero on the side.
That's about dropping out of high school.
Yeah, so like I respect that aspect, but like it would have been so great if he did go to the pool for an hour and hang out with Liz and MJ and all them or whatever, but it's just not enough in depth with other characters, and I feel like it felt the movie was a little too hollow for me.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough going on.
We didn't really see the group interact really. It was like, yeah, we know Peter, but like, yeah, he's always off, like, saving the day, and that's kind of what Spider-Man's
It was really Peter, Ned, and Michael Keaton's character. That was really like
they didn't do a lot with that anymore.
The most in depth.
Yeah.
When the Ned's in the chair and he's like, I do like the scene too where he steals Flash's car, and he's like, I don't know how to turn the headlights on, and he's like, he tells him like, turn the left wiper or whatever, or whatever the turn thing is called.
The knob,
turn the left knob. And like, that's fun. He's like, I've never driven past like over 20 miles per hour. Whatever.
Always been in a parking
lot. He's like, this is a big step up for me. Yeah. But like, I do like when Ned gets caught in that scene, and she's like, "What are you doing here? There's a dance," and he's like, "I'm watching porn."
Funny little one-liner.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
You guys have a baby? I'm still thinking you guys have baby arms.
I do. It's kind of a weak one, but that's baby arms for you. Original Shocker.
Okay.
He's the guy. Like, he's wearing the sweatshirt.
He thinks he's like hot shit.
He has like the yellow padded arms, like the traditional Shocker did in like all the old Spider-Man stuff.
I didn't pick up.
He gets a little cocky, totally screws up the arms deal, blows some stuff up. Comes back, doesn't think a big deal of it, pisses off Michael Keaton, and then just is gone.
You don't mess with Michael Keaton.
And then it gets taken over by evil Dave Chappelle. And
I was thinking that too.
Evil Dave Chappelle.
And even Spider-Man calls him out.
Doing like the pancake thing.
Yep, and even and that's how bad it is. It's like the weak arms is the original Shocker dies so soon because even Spider-Man calls him out. He's like, the other guy knew how to work that so much better.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's true. And so I'm like, I feel like, he was the baby arms was the original Shocker.
Interesting.
Small role, but as we just talked about, not a lot of roles were developed in this movie, so you're picking from small roles.
Way too thin.
It's okay. That might be more obscure than your Black Panther pick with the guy with the green plate.
Yep, that's what I do.
That guy has more screen time, I think, than this guy.
Garrett digs deep into these.
That's good. Yeah,
I gotta find some characters. Because he looked like he would be a good Shocker in other Spider-Man movies, and they're like, no, let's just get rid of him.
Like, this other guy looks too much like Dave Chappelle, but his evil twin brother.
No, the first Shocker
Family Guy when they got the evil
somebody who could, probably be the villain in his own movie if they just let him walk out of there.
Yeah. Nigel, you got a baby arms right?
Yeah, actually, so my baby arms is Happy. Actually,
I didn't love Happy either.
I didn't either. I like him in every other movie. I think I get that they were trying to be comedic with it and everything, but like, if Tony's not paying attention, it's definitely Happy's job to be paying attention to what Peter's saying. And I understand not picking up every phone call and stuff like that, but like,
he brushes him off.
Literally doesn't even try to like it. And again, it should have been you're an adult talking to a 16-year-old. Just say, hey, we got it. Stop. Like, that's enough. Like, simple as that. Anything. But he literally doesn't say anything. Or even telling, like, I don't need a daily report or an hourly report. But he doesn't say anything. So it's just like, all the stuff that Peter kind of goes through there is kind of derived from one of you guys just say anything and he's gonna chill,
Yeah.
He'll go back to the, math decathlon.
No one actually put their foot down.
Literally, no one. And it's just like, all right, well, you literally have a show of children running this movie. So.
Yeah, Happy doesn't do much in this one. Baby arms for me is gotta be MJ, who I think Zendaya plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like kind of hated her character in this movie. Or
Really?
I know, like we said, I mean, hindsight, like
You a
Far
Kristen
From Home-
Dunst fan? Is that what?
I love Kristen.
Absolutely.
Dunst. Yeah.
Bring it on.
I don't know. I do like that they took a different take with her. What I really like about this movie is that they took classic characters like Flash, who's like the big bulky meathead guy,
Yep.
and they made him nerdy, and they made him really funny. Actually, I think. And then they took MJ, and she's not the traditional like redhead girl. They made her like this kind of like weird girl who sits in the corner, has no friends. I'm not just saying that. I mean, like they're sitting at lunch, Ned and Peter, and they're like, why are you sitting with us? She's like, you guys are losers. And she's like, I don't have any friends either, though, or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah, she has a bigger role. Honestly, like just looking ahead to Far From Home 2, which I don't think we'll be doing, or who knows? But whether we review it or not, like I don't really love her cast as MJ. Like I on one hand I appreciate that they took a step outwards, but I also like I never felt chemistry between Peter and MJ. And like Far From Home I think is a little bit better with that, but I gotta rewatch it and see. But
Yeah.
I don't know. To me she's my baby orange because like I just think she has like she's supposed to have like the quippy one-liners and like a couple lines are kind of funny, but like she's always just like kind of in the background, and it's like I don't know, it just seemed kind of weird to me.
Fair enough. So personally, I love Zendaya as MJ.
You do?
I didn't mind Kirsten Dunst as MJ in the Tobey Maguire movies or anything like that. I thought she did a good job. But what I always liked about MJ from like the cartoons, the comics, or the video games, like she's a stronger character with a will of her own to go do stuff. And I feel like with this character, they're definitely going to let her go do her own thing. And to be fair, I like that about the Tobey Maguire movies too. She did her own thing, but it wasn't. She was an actress and stuff like that, and very focused on that, and that was her own thing. But like this one, I feel like they're going to develop her into more like the video game character, where she like goes and like tries to like do journalism and stuff like that. Or, like
In the video game, she
like,
works for the Daily Bugle.
literally, she like goes in and does like high profile stuff, like, and is way more of an asset to the Spider-Man team instead of just the Peter Parker team. So I'm interested to see how they develop that. So, and I think that this character will be able to do that as opposed to other ones.
Yeah. Good point. What do you guys have for scores for this one? Vic, you wanna kick it off?
Yeah, I'll go. I get it as a 7.1. It's entertaining in a sense, and I'm a huge Spider-Man guy. Like I love the Tobey Maguire ones. This one's just it's a little too childish. It just I don't know. It's a little too soft in a sense. I love Tom Holland. I think he's great with other
in a group
like with other characters, but I just don't love this specific movie. I'll say now the second one is definitely better for me. I think he grows up a little bit. It mans up a little bit more. So, this one's just a little too childish for me. But not a bad movie. I could definitely watch it again if I saw it on TV for sure.
So what was that score you gave it?
7.1.
7.1. Okay. For me, I am a little bit higher on this after talking about it, because when you go back and say, okay, what are some of our best scenes, it forces you to think like, okay, well, I like this scene, and actually I like this scene, and maybe this scene I didn't think about as much. I'm gonna give this one an 8.5. I was thinking about putting it lower, but I think it is rewatchable. I agree with Vic, where I think Far From Home we haven't gone to yet, if we even get to it, but like that one I think is better. I really, really like that movie, but part of the reason I really like that movie too is because of Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Like I think a strong villain, and this movie has a great villain. Like I mean, we had Michael Keaton as the strongest Avenger, but I don't know. I just think they did a little bit more with that movie. Like you said, like MJ gets a bigger role in that movie. So I don't know. This is a really, really good origin movie and a great reboot, and it's hard. I don't want to compare it to the other Spider-Man movies, the non-MCU movies, but like it's hard when you watch a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Toby just always has like a special place in my heart, man. Where like I know Spider-Man 1 is great. Spider-Man 2 I think is overrated and maybe not even like a great movie. And Spider-Man 3 is like its own thing, but like I don't know, man.
That first Spider-Man is just so good with Toby.
I just grew up with those movies, and like that was the only Spider-Man. James Franco, yeah.
Willem Dafoe,
yeah. He's
like it just was. They did a good job on it.
They did. So, 8.5 I think is what I'm going to give this. What about you guys?
I'm at 7.5. I think it's a solid MCU movie. I can definitely rewatch it, but it's not cracking my top 5. And I probably would have ranked it a little bit higher, but now that I watched it for a second time, I think it lowers my ranking from my first viewing. I wasn't as blown away as I was the first time. So 7.5, middle of the pack. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. What do you, Nigel?
So I'm actually going to go an 8.8 on this one. I do think that, and it's definitely from watching the second one and all the development and stuff that they have for sure. It is I know we just discussed, Kyle, we don't want to really compare it to a lot of other Spider-Man films, but like, it's the only time I've watched Spider-Man and I think it can compete with that first Tobey Maguire film for sure. And it's like, I love the fact that they come in without the normal Spider-Man origin story. They come in like he's already got these powers, he's already has the suit and stuff like that, and it's a totally different angle and everything.
What's cool too is he makes his web, like he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I don't
And
even.
that's one of my other big things is the making of the web and stuff like that, which is how I always watched it. Because I watched like the '94 cartoon and stuff like that, where he was always making his web and stuff like that, and the fluid and everything. So
does Andrew Garfield in his?
Yeah, I believe so.
He does make it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like I have a whole thing about Andrew Garfield. It's like I love Andrew Garfield as an actress. I hated that Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, they're not great.
I thought they were
They're
awful. I thought
Those
the
are
best
terrible.
part of those movies was Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought Emma Stone did a great job with her and her character. But like,
another one that's not MJ.
yeah,
Everything's so weird.
right.
And she's a redhead. She's
blonde.
blonde. She's
Blonde.
blonde. Yeah.
I love the fact that they did something different in that one. But that's literally the only thing. But like, I think Tom Holland does a great job. And like we were saying, like that whole thing of them being geeky and stuff like that. That's Spider-Man. You're supposed.
It's
to
a
be
cool
geek.
touch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're supposed to be a nerd, and he is an uber nerd, which is great. And it goes back to like Tobey Maguire. That was what he was too. But they really put on display here and everything. So it's just a cool origin story without it being the typical origin story.
Yeah,
you know, it's nice that
twist on it.
it goes
is
right
cool.
into it. So
It is cool because usually it's like Peter Parker's the nerd and everyone else is cool, but yeah, in this one it's like everyone is a nerd.
Right.
Everyone around him was a nerd.
Which is weird that Flash picks on him because it's like, dude, you're just as nerdy as Peter, if not more.
You're just not as smart as him.
Yeah.
Loser.
Yeah.
So how are you guys rating this? I mean, I'll tell you. So I have this. It's my third worst so far. So, and I don't want to say third worst. It's at the bottom of my rankings, but I don't dislike this movie. So I have Hulk at the bottom, Guardians 2, then this first Spider-Man, and then Guardians 1. And I don't want to put Guardians 1 and Spider-Man in the same conversation as Hulk and Guardians 2 because I can watch Guardians 1 and I can watch this.
Okay.
So, but the other two I would never turn on again if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So they're low, but it just, we're really deep into these movies and sorry, someone has to be 14, 15, 16. Like, it just has to
That's
happen.
fair.
Movies move down by default because better movies replace them, and it's like, oh, this movie that I really liked before is now suddenly it's like number 7 on the list, and you're like, oh, like you think that's a top 5, but
It's not a bad movie that I'm going to shit on, but it's not, I'm not going to watch it all the time, but I would rewatch it.
yeah, this for me this comes in at number 6. This is like right outside my top 5. This one, once we get outside top 5, we talked about this before, where it's like it's really like you can shuffle these anyway. Where it's like this one and like Ant-Man, I think I have right around there too. Like those ones I could watch at any time. I think I would probably watch like something like Ant-Man before I watch this again. But I've also seen Homecoming a couple times now, so like I feel like
How do you feel about like the B movie, or is that not so much for you?
The B movie? So Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I'm
Really
done
good
with it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I am higher. I know, Nigel, you're a big fan of the score there, but I'd say it's middle to upper tier MCU movies for me, but I don't know. Like, I love Far From Home, but I've also seen that one less. So, like, maybe, like you said, maybe, like, watching Homecoming, like, I don't want to say that nobody expected Homecoming to be good, but, like, we loved Tom Holland in Civil War. I think it was, like, a really good, like, taste. And then when the first Spider-Man movie came out, because we were coming off of the Andrew Garfields, I think it was like, oh, is this going to be good Spider-Man, or is it going to be like another meh Spider-Man? Right? And it's like, because it was so good, I think like maybe it got overrated at first, and then I think for a lot of people it still stands up there, but maybe like people like me and Garrett, where it's like, oh, maybe this isn't as good as we initially thought. So yeah, that's where it stands for me.
Cool.
How about you guys?
I got it at number 11. It's right below Iron Man 2 for me. It's really good. I really enjoy it, but like you said, it's just there's a lot of good movies in this series, so I kind of put it down there. I could rewatch it anytime. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good movie. It's just I think part of it for me is just, even though as good of a villain as Michael Keaton is, part of it was just it's less serious, which is good in some ways, but also like I look at some of the other villains, so I like when I was trying to compare it, I'm like, do I put it above Iron Man 2? Like, do I think like the Mickey Rourke storyline with, you know, building all these you know, drones and stuff to fight Iron Man. Like I just felt like that plot has more meat on the bones than the Homecoming plot with, you know, the salvaging and all that. It felt more serious to me. Is like I think that's part of the that's part of the director's job on how he wants to take a film. So even though I really liked it, I put it right below Iron Man 2 at 11 out of what 17 are we up to now?
Something like that.
Yeah,
15, 16, 17.
16,
Yeah.
we're in that
You get a lot.
Once you get up there, yeah, it's like whatever.
Exactly.
What about you, Nigel? I know you gave it a high score, so.
Yeah, so this one actually fits the score where I have this as my number 4, right below Black Panther.
Oh, okay.
I like everything about.
So what is it? 9 point.
No, you said 8.8, right?
8.8?
Yeah,
12.4.
Yeah.
I know. I thought with your scoring you would have it higher, but
No, so I think honestly, what's funny is the biggest things with Iron Man 3. I don't know what it is about it entirely, but like it just, like I said before, I can just turn it on and whatever scene it's on, I love it. Guardians and Black Panther have such a good soundtrack along with everything else. That's just, it's great. Like those movies, and they're just totally different characters and everything like that. And Spider-Man is just, it's a different take on a classic origin story, and it's just it is my favorite MCU character. So
I think once we get in top 5, it's like comfort food basically. Where it's like, what is your comfort food? Where for me, it's like
Exactly.
I know I got 3 Cap movies in my top 5, so it's like for me, I know
For you,
I have a lot of Cap.
Evans is here.
Yeah.
I can't wait to kind of recreate my top 5. I feel like it needs to happen.
I think what we should do, we'll discuss this if we will do this, but maybe for when we get to Endgame, I'll put this in the video. But like, I think we should just do a definitive ranking where you can look at your whole list and what you have, and then if you want to move anything around, you can. But it's like, what is your final
You
definitive?
look at it as a whole,
Yeah.
instead of looking at it as all right.
Scoring.
We've gone through this many, and there's still 5 left.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll re-rank it as a whole.
Yeah,
So,
I think we'll do a final ranking when we get there, which is coming up. I mean, we're not that far. We're 5 movies out from Endgame
Yeah,
or
I
something.
think so.
Yeah, so it's coming out. So.
Alright.
Alright guys, well that's our review of Spider-Man Homecoming, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you can. Check out the other content on there. And yeah, thanks for joining us, boys.
Cool. Trump 2020.
Election night.